Racers are dedicated to winning. And Chevrolet Performance's 3 factory-sealed Circle Track crate engines can help you get to the checkered flag first. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a touring hero, on dirt or pavement, Chevrolet Performance Circle Track crate engines are engineered to win. Right out of the box.
This is Crate Racing USA Live.
They're side by side. The top 2 of the points are 4th and 5th right now. Here comes Jimmy Thomas. We're back underway out of turn 4. 13 circuits to go around the Talladega short track, and we now have ourselves a battle for the lead. Out of turn number 4, Jeremy Steele wins the Turkey 100. This is America's leader in racing, the Rogers Dabbs Performance Parts Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series 4-wide.
And now your host, Cody Earley.
The quest for the 2026 Rogers Dabbs Performance Parts Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series Championship starts this weekend at the Needmore Speedway with the 3rd annual Southern Heritage Classic, paying $10,000 to win, and it starts the march towards the 22nd season for America's leader in racing. Hello, everyone. I am Cody Earley. Welcome to Crate Racing USA Live, your weekly destination for everything Crate Racing USA, from driver interviews to special guests, also marketing partners, track promoters, track owners. If it happens, Crate Racing USA, we've got you covered right here on this show. And listen, we want you to follow. We want you to subscribe. We want you to keep up. Don't miss an episode, but if you do, you can go back and re-listen to all the episodes. Of course, we're all excited. We're itching to get the 2026 season underway. We'll officially do that this weekend. Not only do the 604 Late Models kick off the 22nd season of competition, but the Crate Racing USA Late Model Sportsman Tour kicks off its 3rd season this weekend as well. Both touring series will be in action at the Needmore Speedway coming up this weekend. Chance Smith's promoted facility ready to go. Practice getting underway this evening. It's going to be a lot of fun this weekend, and the weather looks to be absolutely perfect for the 3rd annual Southern Heritage Classic. But as we'd like to kick off the show, let's start talking about what happened this past week. Week 4, who went to victory lane? Well, let's find out. Friday performances, Hattiesburg Speedway. It was in the 604 Late Models, Sid Scarborough. In the Street Stocks, Calvin Martin. On Friday night at Magnolia, it was World of Outlaws weekend. Jason Markowitz, Mingo, put it in victory lane in the Crate Racing USA Modified. Moved to Saturday, Deep South Speedway. In the Crucial Late Models, it was Taylor Jarvis. And in the Street Stocks, it was Sean Goodwin. Hendry County Motorsports Park, it was the Dennis Lynch Memorial. Trent Wilson went to victory lane, piloting the Tim Powers 44 in the Street Stocks. Magnolia, night number 2, the Crate Racing USA Late Model Sportsman saw Chase Pennington go to victory lane. Swainsboro opened up their point season in the 602s, the Late Model Sportsman. It was Landon Matthews, and in the Street Stocks, it was Jared Jones. Tuscumbia, Alabama, the North Alabama Speedway. In the 602s, it was Cruz Wallace, and in the Modifieds, it was Jarrett Miller. Sunday competition saw some huge car counts at the Talladega short track, including a whopping 30 Crate Racing USA Modifieds. It was Blant Duke winning that event on Sunday night, and in the Crate Racing USA Late Model Sportsman, it was Marty Massey, who's now put back-to-back wins together at the Hornets' Nest. Sanctioned Series in action this past weekend. The American Crate Late Model Series kicked off their 2026 campaign. At Sabin Speedway on Friday, it was Corey Neal Jr., and on Saturday at Boot Hill Speedway, it was David Williamson. Those drivers all went to victory lane. Week number 4 of national points. You can find those national points. You can find events all at CrateRacingUSA.com. Just click on the events tab, or you can click on the points tab to see the national point standings. That's a look at what happened this past week in Crate Racing USA. Well, coming up, the very first guest of ever on this show is the Mad Hatter himself, the man behind everything with Crate Racing USA. We'll talk with the lead man, Adam Stewart. He's next. You're listening to Crate Racing USA Live.
Crate Racing USA Live will return after this commercial break.
Rogers Dabbs Chevrolet was just a regular car dealership here in Brandon, Mississippi, and About 10 years ago, we started branching off with our parts department, and we became one of the top 3 largest parts departments for powertrain, for engines and transmissions in the country. So in doing so, why not support the industry that supports the most powertrain, which is your performance engines and racing? And there's a need there that was not being filled. There was a customer base that was not being taken care of.
We keep the sealed crate motors in stock, the 602, the 604s, the 525s. Whether you're driving a late model or a modified or a street stock, we've got an engine for your car. We also carry the accessory kits, KRC drives. We also do Gary Williams carburetors. We've been in this for a couple years now, and we're doing it to benefit the racers.
Everyone is trying to get into racing, knows that it's not a cheap sport to get into. So price structure was a big thing in taking care of the racers, and we knew early on that we did not want to make this a profit center. We wanted to make it about the racers. Price is a big thing. However, customer service is where it's at. And we've had several instances where racetracks have called us and said, hey, we had a driver out here qualifying and their engine popped. And it's Friday night at 9 o'clock, and our team, Benny and Ryan, are calling me and saying, hey boss, we need to take care of this race car driver. Let's get them an engine as soon as possible. And they'll be here before sunrise the next morning on Saturday morning, pulling that engine, getting it to that person so they can get it installed and be racing that night. That's the kind of customer service we want to deliver.
Week 5 for Crate Racing USA. Weekly competition gets underway this weekend. A full slate of competition going on all across the sanctioned tracks with Crate Racing USA. You can find out more at CrateRacingUSA.com. Click on the Events tab. And also remember, if you haven't got your 2026 membership, you can go to My Race Pass, type in Crate Racing USA, and click on Register, and you will be able to get your 2026 membership and compete at any sanctioned track at any touring event across the calendar year. All right, guest number 1, Crate Racing USA Live, is the very own owner, promoter, and the man in charge, the guy that wears many different hats, not only with Crate Racing USA, with Talladega Short Track as well, Adam Stewart. Adam, welcome in to Crate Racing USA Live.
Hey, Cody, I appreciate you having me on here, and really like what we're doing here with our new podcast. So excited to get this thing going.
Yeah, a lot of different things to talk about. The first thing is a lot of people that know you probably know your story of how you got to be where you are now. And I think it's a cool story, especially for maybe a younger race fan that's going to listen to this. You really started out, not maybe the smallest person on the totem pole, but somewhat similar in that aspect, and you've made your way to where you are now.
Yeah, sort of as the old adage says for plumbers, it runs downhill. Well, I was the guy holding the bucket. So I began as a fan. I did not come from racing, did not race. My dad and I and my younger brother, we were fans. We went to Talladega Short Track, was our home track, and, of course, Green Valley Speedway, and visited Rome and Dixie and East Alabama and all the racetracks around here as race fans. And my brother started go-kart racing, and me being at that time about 16 years old, was trying to figure out a way to get a little gas money to get to the racetrack, and was looking for a job, and started working the scales at the go-kart track on Friday nights. And then, hey, I want to do something at the car track. I figured out I could make money going to the races. So started working in the concession stand. That was good for a little bit, but I was missing a whole lot of racing. So decided that I would ask if there was anything to do on the racetrack, and started as a pit steward pulling the start cone way back when, and worked my way, I would say, up, and eventually flagged here at Talladega and done a lot of things. And fortunately, coming up through those ranks, got to meet a lot of people that come through to the racetrack, one of those being the folks from the Southern All-Stars, BJ Parker, and those folks back in the day, and would help them on some races. And, of course, Crate Racing USA got its start and come through here about the time I was getting going, and got to meet the owners and all that, and offered a job there. But that was not before I went to Green Valley Speedway and worked there for a few years. Then from there went to work for Crate Racing USA, and the rest is history, as they say. We worked through that, and there was an ownership change there in 2019. We were able to be a part of that. And then in 2021 here at the racetrack, and the rest, they say, is history.
Yeah, and you go back to that 2019, that start of Crate Racing USA. Kind of tell us, the transition from, say, 2019 till now. Obviously, we all know things change, but from the crate side of things, compared to a super late model series, compared to an open motor, the tech, the operations that goes on to keep Crate Racing USA what it is, kind of give people the aspect of how much really goes into that side of the competition compared to your super late models or your open wheel modifieds that really have, when it comes to rules, a very smaller rule book than what we have.
Yeah, that's our main objective with the Crate Racing USA, and was from the get-go when Mike and them started this, was to make racing affordable. And Chevrolet at the time was the only option with a factory sealed crate engine. And so in order to keep something factory sealed, you have to check and make sure that nobody is getting inside those seals, number one. And number two, that if they are going inside the seals doing repairs, which we do with our repair and rebuild network of builders, making sure they're using the GM parts and doing things to spec. So that requires us to monitor our builders that are participants in the program. It requires us to monitor our racers, who a racer's always looking for an advantage or an edge. Our seal program is very strong across the country. Actually, we use our engine seals. We can tell you what was done to that engine, when it was done, where the engine seal should be at on the engine. So there's a lot goes into making sure that program stays intact and on top of things. That means we have to watch, and I know people see, I get messages and pictures sent of the counterfeit seals, and they're doing this. And so from time to time, that requires us to mix things up on our end. But we try to educate our tech people, even our local racetracks, and our tech guys, as far as what to look for and what we can see to know what is a legit or non-legit seal. And, right off the bat this year, we've already had a couple of instances where that was caught. So it's very important to the day-to-day operation and the backbone of what we do by keeping those engines sealed and to specs from the Chevrolet Performance.
I'm glad you kind of led into that. You talk about the local level as of right now, and we're still very early. I mean, we're only 5 weeks into the national points season. 29 tracks across the Southeast. Now, if we had all the tracks that use the rule book were sanctioned, it would be maybe double that. But 29 tracks across the Southeast, and not only the Southeast, we're branched up into Kentucky now, especially with some of the street stock divisions. That just kind of speaks volume for how important this rule book and this sanction really is.
Like you said, and you alluded to, there's if we had everybody that used the rule book and the rule package, it would probably be double that. But it just proves that uniform rules are good for racing and racetracks and racers. That means I can take my car that I run at North Alabama Speedway on a Friday night special event, and they're paying $2,500 at Windy Hollow or Paducah, and I can get in my truck and go there and run the same car, same tire, same everything, same treatment, same points. That's the beauty of being sanctioned. And from a racetrack standpoint, being that I'm involved on both sides of that, if somebody's in trouble, if somebody's done something wrong, if there's a tech issue, that's off my back. That goes to my tech guys on the crate racing side. They have to handle the disciplinary action, tearing those motors down. So it's just the uniformity of rules, being able to go track to track and race the same thing. We partner really well with the Rush Racing Series in the Northeast. Our engine seal is recognized by them. So you could essentially go from Key West to Canada and race a crate engine car, a late model car, up and down the East Coast. And they're pretty much the same rule package.
So technically Hendry County, right? That's where you was going when you say Key West.
Yeah. When I said Cuba, basically Hendry County, of course. So as far south as we go, but that's that's the beauty of it. That's a racetrack, the southernmost racetrack in the country. We go there. We go to Charlotte in the there around the end of October, 1st of November. We're in Florida during speed weeks when the weather's rotten everywhere else. We're capable or able to go down there and race at some of those racetracks during speed weeks. And it's just a good thing. And when we got our hands on the Crate Racing USA thing, our first goal, and it's always my goal, is there's a core of racetracks that was the foundation of what we done: Talladega, Magnolia, Wynot, Hattiesburg, there's probably a core of 10 to 12 racetracks that have been on the program from the get-go. And our goal was to shore up those racetracks and then expand. As long as your base is strong, you can build a good house on a strong foundation. So making sure that our foundation racetracks are strong, then the growth. So we're starting to see that where our foundation is pretty solid and we're starting to grow a little bit in different areas. And I foresee that being the case for the foreseeable future.
And speaking of growth, I'll start with one division that you got to see firsthand this weekend at Talladega Short Track. I don't think anybody had 30 modified sportsmen on their bingo card for the Bama Bash, but to see that when everybody's kind of, where are these modified guys, to see them come out the way they did this weekend, that's got to mean something to you as well.
That was a class. That was the last class we added to our sanction there, and that was done right before we purchased it. Of course, Ken Schrader and some of his crew helped write those rules, and it's a solid, affordable rules package that is a simple race car. And when I say affordable, we don't kid anybody that affordability is in the eye of the beholder, essentially, that anything you do that's a hobby is going to take some money and effort and time. So that class, though, is something that still is a simple car on a narrow tire with a 602 crate engine. It puts it back into the driver and some setup stuff, and they race really well, and it's worked. I mean, that thing went from 30 cars total as a whole division the first year. I think we had 33 members we had 30 cars last week for 1,000 to win. So, I've been beat up a little bit about what are you going to do, tour with them or add some races, and that's all well and good, but that's a class that the racetracks are really seeing some good car counts, and the racetracks need to have some classes that are good racing, good car counts for them to be able to stay viable for their regular shows.
Yeah, and that's something else too when it comes to the weekly competition. I know everybody wants some kind of tour. There's a Crown Vic tour I'm hearing that's getting ready to launch somewhere across the East Coast. But these competitions week in and week out at these sanctioned tracks, these guys have the opportunity, collect these points all through the year to end up at a rather nice banquet at the end of the season, right? We're very fortunate that we have the support we do. And as a result of that, we feel as a company that we should give those folks something nice to attend at the end of the year, pick up their money. They've supported us through the year, so we feel like it's part of our duty to give something back at the end of the year. I feel like we do. Of course, I'm going to say the nicest banquet there is, but I'm sure there's somebody that would disagree. But for our level of racing, I feel like we put on a solid banquet to award our racers and their families, give them somewhere nice to come and go in conjunction with doing a promoters meeting for that. So, but it's all built around our local racetracks have to be sustainable, whether that be with a 604 tour race or a 602 tour race or their weekly racing divisions. And, it's part of our job to help make those racetracks remain sustainable in all of those facets. So, it's weekly racing is a tough business, very tough business. I mean, we're doing less of it here at our racetrack just because the way things work. But the core of what we do is built on the back of the local racers. So we have to do what we have to do to make sure they're taken care of and rewarded well for that. We come off of the weekly side of things and we go to the tours. Well, both tours get the chance to launch their 2026 season this weekend for the Crate Racing USA, the Rogers Dabbs Performance Parts Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series, Season 22. And this has really been, we're going to have a special guest coming on, our second guest in this show. This has really been the stepping stone for a lot of drivers in the Southeast. And we're really starting to see now this second generation, especially in these crate late models, are starting to make that transition. This tour has been really successful to launching a lot of careers, especially here in the Southeast.
You look at the champions, past champions of that, and I mean, that's something you should be proud of as being involved with this series. Is Ashton Winger, Corey Hedgecock, Ronnie Johnson, Matthew Turner. There are people there's a who's who list there of former champions, and it's a stepping stone, but those guys, they had to earn those rights. They had to earn that to be that champion. And when you look at that list, some of those are the best drivers in the business now. And it's gave them a chance to mold themselves at some really good racetracks against some really good competition. And I'm very proud to see that. And I'm also, you mentioned the youth movement and the next generation. Makes me feel old a little bit, if I'm being honest. But that's cool to me. It's cool to me to see people that I can actually call kids now, and I'm not the kid in the room anymore. But that's encouraging to me that we're having people that are the next generation of racer coming along that want to make that step. And there again, some of these people are going to do this. This is their level. This is where their budget allows them to race. It's where a lot of people have a business that they have to run. Our schedule is built around family-owned business and family, because we don't race a whole lot. We try to make weekend events where there's a couple nights and you get some time for vacation. Mama's got to be happy in the summertime and get a break. So we try to do that, and it gives these people a really good point fund for the amount of races we go to that pay really good. And we try to be selective and go to the best racetracks in the region. And I'm proud to say that I think if you look at car counts and those type things, we're probably as healthy as anything in this part of the country.
Yeah, and that division, of course, big races this year. I was looking down the list of the 22 events. We're up to almost half, nearly half of those are 10,000 or more, and that's a big thing too for these guys that can't make it on the Lucasville level or the World of Outlaws or even the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series level. For these guys to go out here, we saw what it meant to Joseph Brown, his first 10,000 win at Needmore a couple of seasons ago. What that meant to him. That's a big payday for a working man that comes out and tries to hit these races up and down the road.
It's something we have strived to do is make it a decent purse that the racers can make a little money. For years it was still good. We based our touring series on 2 and 2,500, some 3s, of 5s. But as we all know, things have changed. The cost is escalated. Go fill your car up. It's not just race car parts. It's everything we touch is increased. So and by our car counts and fan counts and support, we've been able to get our racetracks to buy in and see the value in increasing those purses. And like you say, almost half the schedule being 10,000 wins for a crate engine late model is something that we probably never thought we would see. And there's some races on there that pay, 15, 20,000 to win. So there's some of those thrown in there. So there's definitely value. People have seen the value in what we do, and that's good for everybody involved. It's good for our racetracks, good for the racers, and good for us as well.
Not only the 604, but the third season for the Crate Racing USA Late Model Sportsman Tour will start this weekend. That was something, too, people were kind of wanting, and I feel like going into season 3, that tour may be as healthy as it's been from the get-go with interest and people wanting to get involved. And the schedule really works out great for the folks that can't go out and run 2 nights a week.
Yeah, it's there again, everything we do, I try to, us as a company and our staff as a whole, we try to remember that we're working people for the most part. Our guys and gals, they have jobs, they have a business, they go to school. With the youth movement there's a lot of factors at play. So we try to make that 602 schedule where it's beneficial to the racers and the racetracks. And that thing has seen growing interest, and it's done really well. And I'll admit I was a little late to the party and drug my feet because I'm a little old school. And I thought, man, this is a class the local racetrack needs to survive and thrive on. And then the car counts, at times we were drawing 25, 30 cars at regular shows for 400 or 500 to win back in the day. So the class was healthy enough to support a small tour and not overgrow. Money can complicate things, so it pays enough money to make it worth doing without being where the racetracks can't make money and drawing the interest of racers that don't necessarily need to be competing in that class.
And I'll close out the touring side of things with the fact of the Crate Racing USA brand. Not only do we have our own tours, but this season alone, 3 tours separate from us will be sanctioned under that brand. One of them we'll get to see come to life this weekend at Needmore, the Southern Dirt Street Stock Series. I think this is something that, of course, the Mississippi Street Stock Series, we've had that for a couple of years. Now it's transitioned into this. What does it mean to you being over the brand, seeing these series, these tours coming together, knowing that they're coming together as a whole with this Crate Racing USA brand, especially kicking that off this weekend?
That's it's a big deal. It's a big deal to know that people are buying into what we do. And they believe in what we do enough to want to be a part of it on their end and be sanctioned. That's opened us up, the American Crate Late Model Series out in the Texas and Louisiana. It's definitely broadened our horizons, brought new racers, new racetracks. That anytime we network together, there's better ideas. Some of those people have some ideas for us that, we may implement and try to make things better. But to know that people believe in what we do and understand that what we do is beneficial and valuable, it's a great thing. And for a series that's, on branding with Rogers Dabbs Performance Parts and Chevrolet Performance and VP and Hoosier, our major marketing sponsors, that's it's good for us to be able to go to them and say, hey, we're seeing growth, we're seeing more racers, we're helping you move product, and that helps us keep those point funds elevated and potentially grow, and helps us with staffing. So it's really good to see that stuff, and it makes the world grow, and a bigger world makes it good for all of us.
And from an aspect, looking at the way things lay out, say we got somebody listening right now that's got a track in our area. What's the process? I know we've had some folks interested in being sanctioned by Crate Racing USA. What's the process? What's the fee? What do they need? What do they need to know to where, hey, let's make this jump. Let's join this.
Excuse me. We've made it. It's really a simple process. We do have a little thing that we do to protect our racetracks. We have a 50-mile rule that if a racetrack's within 50 miles and they were sanctioned first, we give them a right of refusal just to protect those racetracks. And a lot of times if they work together on scheduling, it's beneficial for both, because now all the cars are sanctioned. Everybody's got their membership. And for the racer, the membership is $65 for the modified street stock or 602 Sportsman. And that's for every racetrack. You don't have to buy that each racetrack. That's a one-time annual membership. The 604 late model stuff is $125, but that gets you into all the touring events, all your local classes. And then the racetracks, it's a pay as you go. There's no minimum number of races. There's no upfront fee. If you race, it's a $50 sanction fee. For your local divisions, it's $100 if you run the 604 class. If you run all the classes, we give you a little break there. So, but to be able to have that one phone call to say, hey, we've got a protest, or we see something that we suspect is not good on this race car, or hey, we've got some guys complaining a guy's really winning 3 or 4 in a row here, we want to take a look. That $50 you send us for those 8 or 10 races you do a year, that it's a small price to pay for having that to fall back on. So it's really easy to do, and we encourage any of them that have questions. It's valuable for your racers. If they never want to leave, they still get to run for that point fund right there at your racetrack. You're not encouraging them to leave, but you're giving them an incentive to stay there and race at your racetrack as well.
Indeed. And of course, all this information, the rule books, all the details, CrateRacingUSA.com. You can find all that there. Adam, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Going to be a big weekend down at Needmore, expecting some beautiful weather this weekend, and a good way to open the 2026 touring season for both divisions.
Yep, I'm really excited. I think we have a good car count. That's an event that Chance started from scratch, and I like to see racetracks do that and see things work. And so far, it's been successful for him. So I'm hopeful that continues this weekend. And like you say, the weather's good. I laugh a little bit. Just get you some no gnat spray for down there below the gnat line, as we call it in Georgia. And but the weather should be really good. Going to be a little cool at night, which is perfect for racing conditions. And I'm really excited. I know Chance has been doing some work and painting some walls and that kind of thing. So excited to get back down there and get things kicked off.
Indeed. We appreciate you joining us on our opening episode of Crate Racing USA Live.
Cody, I appreciate you, and thank you very much. We'll see you this weekend.
Indeed. It's the Southern Heritage It comes up this weekend, Needmore Speedway. We'll have it all. You can watch it live if you can't make it at CrateRacingUSA.tv. You can get a weekend pass or a single-day pass. More of Crate Racing USA Live coming up.
Racers are dedicated to winning. And Chevrolet Performance's 3 factory-sealed circle track crate engines can help you get to the checkered flag first. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a touring hero, on dirt or pavement, Chevrolet Performance circle track crate engines are engineered to win. Right out of the box.
Matt Williamson. You know, the thing with the VP Racing oil is we trusted the fuel for so many years that it was easy to switch to the oil, and we're glad we did. The stuff is phenomenal. It's the best oil out there, and we have all the confidence in the world in every fluid we run on the race car because it comes from VP.
VP Fuel and Lubricants is the only oil and lubricants that we use in our 3-car program, and it's the only one we trust for that.
If you want to keep up with everything Crate Racing USA, you can find it online at CrateRacingUSA.com. Whether it's rules, schedules, sanction tracks, or events coming up, or race results, news stories, and a whole lot more, find it all at CrateRacingUSA.com. That's CrateRacingUSA.com. Welcome back to the show as we gear up for the season opener this weekend, not only for the Rogers Dabbs Performance Parts Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series, but also Season 3 for the Crate Racing USA Late Model Sportsman Tour. That's right, fresh off season number 2, 10 races a year ago. Braden Johnson was the driver that added his name to the list. Of course, Logan Bradford scored the championship back in 2024. It's a big year for the Late Model Sportsman Tour. Of course, this weekend, the 3rd annual Southern Heritage Classic, $4,000 to the winner, matching one of the highest events of the 2026 season. The schedule starts this weekend at Needmore. April 4th, they'll head to North Alabama Speedway for the Rumble by the River. It'll be $2,000 to win there. One previous event at North Alabama, Richie Stevens won that event back in 2024. May 16th, the series heads to the House of Hook. Why not? Motorsports Park in Meridian, Mississippi for a $2,000 to win. May 23rd and 24th, the Magnolia Motor Speedway will welcome the 602 World Championship once again. The highest paying event on the tour. $5,000 to win. Previous winners of the Late Model Sportsman Tour at Magnolia, Bryson Mitchell in 24, Mario Gresham in 24, and yes, Mario Gresham in 25. So he would be hunting for 3 straight coming up May 23rd and 24th if he can find a way to win there. June 20th, the series is in Moulton, Alabama at the Extreme Speedway for a $2,500 to win. July 3rd and 4th, welcome to the 4th of July weekend, Baldwin, Mississippi in the Ridge. The Pine Ridge Speedway will welcome all drivers for the 3rd annual 602 Rumble at the Ridge. $1,000 to win on Friday, $2,500 to win on Saturday. Then back-to-back nights of racing. First up, the Penton Raceway, August 21st and August 22nd at Sonoa Raceway. Those will be paired with the Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series. And then September 5th and 6th at the Cochran Motor Speedway. It's Labor Day weekend, and the Late Model Sportsman Tour will headline that weekend. Kenny Collins, the previous winner at Cochran back in 2024. October 24th, NASCAR weekend at the Talladega Short Track, the 6th annual Red Farmer Tribute. Saturday night is when the Late Model Sportsman Tour will be there. It'll be a $2,500 to win. And then the final 2 racing weekends of the season will pair back up with the Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series. The 15th annual Earley Bird will pay $2,500 to win November 20th and 21st. And then the season concludes at the Turkey 100 at Swainsboro Raceway, matching that $5,000 to win in the finale for the Crate Racing USA Late Model Sportsman Tour. That happens November 27th and 28th at the Borough. Of course, the Crate Racing USA Late Model Sportsman Tour, the all-time wins list, 2 best friends currently set atop of that list, Mario Gresham and Bryson Mitchell. They both have 2 wins apiece, and then a long list of drivers who have added their name to that tour. Of course, it was Braden Johnson 1 year ago walking away with that championship ahead of Chase Giddens. A little bit of a heartbreak for Chase. 2 years in a row, he found himself in that runner-up spot, but upping the game this year in 2026. I think we may see Chase Giddens try to chase the Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series Championship and possibly a Rookie of the Year run. Speaking of that, the season kicks off this weekend at Needmore. $10,000 to win in the 3rd Annual Southern Heritage Classic. The 2026 season alone, break it down for you, $175,000 plus. That's just in first place money alone. 22 events stretched across 7 different states. 11 of those, they're going to pay $10,000 or more. Of course, the highest payout on the tour, All-Tech Raceway. The $31,000 to win Powell Family Memorial. That will be an event a lot of people have circled on their headline just to be able to put their name on that trophy, and that comes October 16th and 17th. The full schedule, CrateRacingUSA.com. We make, of course, the return to Dixie Speedway April the 18th. May 1st and 2nd will be at Swainsboro, the 26th annual Pine Tree 100. I learned something about that, too. The Pine Tree 100 and the Turkey 100 both celebrating 26 years this year. May 23rd, All-Tech Raceway, the Harvey Jones Memorial. That'll be a $10,000 to win. May 30th at Sonoma Raceway for a $5,000 to win. That ought to be a big weekend down there. June 5th and 6th, 2 different states, back-to-back nights. The series makes its debut at the Thunder Mountain Speedway up in Corbin, Kentucky for Friday Night Fury. It'll be a $3,000 to win. And we cross our fingers. I know Brian Smith and his team have been doing some amazing stuff at the Tazewell Speedway. We have been trying to get the inaugural Jimmy Pup Thomas Memorial in. We're going to try it coming up June the 6th, $7,500 to win at the Bad Fast Taz. June 13th, the return to Modoc. That's right, the inaugural Brian Stewart Memorial, $5,074 to win that event. June 20th, I know everybody's been asking, when are we heading back to the House of Hook? Put it on your calendars. The Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series returns June 20th. Concord Motor Speedway will entertain us for the 4th of July weekend. Christmas in July. $2,000 to win on Friday. $5,000 to win on Saturday. July 10th and 11th, we're at the Governor's Cup at Magnolia Motor Speedway. Yes, another $10,000 to win. Back-to-back weekends. We mentioned these 2 races before, and they'll join us with the 602s. August 21st, Penton Raceway in Lafayette, Alabama. $2,500 to win. August 22nd, $3,000 to win at Sonoma Raceway. Back-to-back nights of racing. Labor Day weekend, we'll be at the Hunt the Front Southern Raceway. The return to Milton, $10,000 to win September 5th and 6th. And then, of course, September 18th through the 20th, the 54th Annual Alabama State Championship, once again paying $10,000 to win. It'll be the 3rd year in a row that the Rogers Dabbs Performance Parts Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series will headline that big weekend at the Playground of Power. We talked about the 31st Annual Powell Family Memorial, October 16th through 17th. Then we head to the Hornet's Nest, October 23rd to the 24th. If you didn't think NASCAR weekend was big enough as it was, just how it's been, well, the ante has been upped. The 6th Annual Rhett Farmer Tribute, $5,000 to win on Friday, $10,000 to win on Saturday. That is fall NASCAR weekend, and it'll be packed at the Talladega Short Track. Final 2 race weekends of the year will bring us back to Needmore, November 20th and 21st for the 15th Annual Early Bird 50, and then November the 27th and 28th, the Swainsboro Raceway will entertain the season finale with the 26th Annual Turkey 100. That is a look at the schedule for both the Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series and the Crate Racing USA Late Model Sportsman Tour Series. Well, that leads us in to where the series will go coming up this weekend. Needmore Speedway, the 3rd Annual Southern Heritage Classic, will kick off not only the 604 Tour, but the 602 Tour, and it gets things moving towards the 22nd season of racing for the Rogers Dabbs Performance Parts Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series. When it comes to that series, one man sets high atop the most wins. It's the driver out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, the Chattanooga Flash, Ronnie Johnson.
2 to go. Next time by, Ronnie Johnson will see the white flag. Here he comes. White flag's in the air. He has checked out on Mario Gresham. Gresham beginning to fade in the 21. Johnson off the 2, down the back straightaway. Ladies and gentlemen, he started 23rd tonight in the last row. Here he comes with the win. The Chattanooga Flash, Ronnie Johnson, is your winner.
Man, I'll tell you, we're racing for this series for the point championship, and we rolled that tire off in qualifying, and I'm just thinking, just run 50 laps, keep your nose clean, get whatever finish you can, top 10, top 7, whatever. And, whatever. And, I mean, we got up to like 6th place. We had a caution. I'm like, man, I'm 6th. I mean, we still got half the race. I could win this, you know. So then I started going for it, and I'm just as surprised as anybody here. But I thoroughly enjoy it. I love this place. It's been good to me. I love the fans. Fans turn out, you know, and support this thing, and you know, it just makes the world go around.
There's been quite a few of those in his career, but you can tell that one is pretty special. That was from 411 when he came from the back to the front. The Chattanooga Flash, Ronnie Johnson. We'll chat with him coming up on Crate Racing USA Live next.
Looking to transform your outdoor space? Look no further than Bama Sheds. As a family-owned and operated business, we understand your needs. That's why we offer no credit check, rent-to-own options. Enjoy free delivery and setup within 35 miles of our 4 convenient locations. Whether you need a shed, pole barn, garage, or carport, we've got you covered. Visit our website at bamasheds.com or call 256-268-8484. Bama Sheds, where quality meets affordability and your outdoor dreams become reality.
Welcome to the My Race Pass app, the #1 app for motorsports fans. We want to make sure you get the most out of your My Race Pass app experience. With your new free account, you can use the My Race Pass app to see race day information, including event entries and official lineups and results for over 600 organizations across North America. You can also see track information and purchase online event tickets for select tracks. With your free account, you can also search for a track or series on the My Race Pass app and favorite their profile to receive news and race day notifications on your mobile device. To see more information and to see which app subscription is best for you, be sure to visit getmrpapp.com. My Race Pass, the ultimate racing resource.
And Ronnie, it don't seem like you get any older or any slower or anything like that. What do you think about this place tonight?
Oh, I love this place. I mean, I wanted to come here. I just really felt, you know, one of the guys said, why did you pick that race? I said, because I think I can win it. And I mean, we worked hard for this. I just look forward to this place, coming here and racing. It's been a while. You know, Johnny put so much effort into it, and you know, everybody doesn't agree with some of the things he does, but you know, he puts on a show. You know, we got a racetrack to race on. There's not a lot of them like that anymore, and I'm so blessed at this point in the game, you know, to be able to do what I love and be successful at it. And so, thanks to Johnny, thanks to John Leatherwood, Roger Dixon. Thanks for the fans for coming out, braving this weather. Just something we can't control, and I definitely want to thank Crate Racing USA for, you know, for the sanction, and them and Johnny for the race once again.
Thank you. Ronnie Johnson, give him a round of applause. The Chattanooga Flash has won it here tonight at Magnolia.
The voice of Magnolia Motor Speedway, Ross Tingle, and Victory Lane for our very next guest on the line. That came in November 12th of 2022, the 29th time this driver went to Victory Lane, adding to his total of being the most victories in the Rogers Dabbs Performance Parts Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series history. The Dirt Late Model Hall of Famer, over 1,000 career wins to his credit, the Chattanooga Flash, Ronnie Johnson. Ronnie, welcome to Crate Racing USA Live.
Thanks for having me tonight.
Man, excited to have you. I was trying to put together our opening guest for our very first show, and with the season kicking off this coming weekend at Needmore, I went straight to the top. 29 career wins. That still leads the all-time most wins in the Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series. 3-time series champion, the only one to ever do that. Man, what a legacy. And I guess my opening question for you is what kind of got Ronnie Johnson into racing?
Well, I grew up around it. My dad raced. My dad and my uncles had auto repair shops, and they all raced in some form, whether it be dirt track racing or I had an uncle that drag raced for the most part. My dad won the first, they called it the World 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He won the first one in 1960, and I wasn't there. At the time, I was like 4.5 years old or so, but I grew up around it. I'm the kid in elementary school walking around making race car noises, and just loved it. I always knew what I was going to do subconsciously, I guess. And but contrary to today's world, I didn't start racing until I was 17 and a half or so. I graduated from high school, typical Memorial Day period graduations, and raced at Cleveland Speedway the next Saturday night.
You mentioned the drag racing and your dad in the World 600. Where did the dirt racing side of things come from?
Well, my dad raced. He raced on dirt and asphalt. I mean, man, I'm dating myself big time here, but again, as a kid, the same little shop that I've worked out of until just recently is behind my house, and my dad built a little 25 by 40 shop there in our backyard. Within a year of him winning that World 600, he was driving for a fellow by the name of Paul McDuffie out of the Atlanta area when they won that race. And unfortunately, Mr. McDuffie got killed at Darlington just a few months after that win. And so my dad came back home and went back to racing, on the local level. He ran some more, they called it Grand National Series then, which would be Cup now, but he ran some more of those races on and off what he could for a couple of years, but he had his little auto repair and body shop there in our backyard, and there was always a race car there, and they raced on dirt and asphalt. And I mean, we're going all the way back to, in the early 60s, they were still racing the coupes in our area. They didn't start running what they called the late models until like 1964. And I know this sounds like ancient times, but I remember it like it was yesterday. But I'd get up, and I know everybody's heard the stories about Dale Earnhardt Sr. going out and looking at his dad's car, on a Sunday morning or the day after a race or whatever. And you could just look at the race car and the tow truck, and you could just look at it and you could tell if they had a good night or a bad night. I could tell if they raced on dirt or pavement, obviously by the dirt or the tires that they had on. And I was just like that. I'd go out there, and crawl around that car, which was obviously on an open trailer at the time. And they towed with a pickup truck. And so I could look in the cab and the bed of that truck and look that car over, and I could tell if they had a good night or not.
We're talking with the Dirt Late Model Hall of Famer, Ronnie Johnson. Man, when I look at some of your stats and I look at what you've been able to do in the history, still the all-time winningest driver in the Southern All-Star Series. You got 3 championships there, 85, 87, and 88. You've got a Topless Outlaw Championship in 2021. And then the Crate Racing USA side of things, not only just the 604 headline series where you got the 29 career wins and 3 championships, but the Chevrolet Performance Super Late Model Series. You're still the all-time winningest driver there with 7 of those, 3 championships on that side. And Ronnie, kind of tell the folks, you spent a lot of time on the Crate Racing USA side and the competition level on that side of things, whether it's the 604s or on the super side. This was just a time where there was a lot of racing going on across the Southeast. What kind of drew you in to be able to compete in both of those series?
Oh man, just, a number of things. I've raced for a long time, and you have good years and you have bad years, and you have winning, well, we'll call it successful spells, years in a row where things go well and you do well, and then it's like that. It's kind of like gambling. When you're hot, you're hot, and when you're not, you're not. When things start going wrong, it seems like the more you put into it and the harder you work, sometimes it seems like the farther you get behind, you just can't get going. But so we ran back in the early to mid 90s. I got teamed up with Bob Miller out of Lieber, Kentucky, and his family, Miller Racing. And I've driven for a lot of people, had a lot of car owners, but Bob treated me better than family, and he gave us everything we needed to go race. And of course, he expected to be successful, and we had a lot of success. We won that dirt track world championship at Pennsboro twice, and we had multiple other wins. But raced with them and got spoiled because Bob made sure we had what we needed, and everything runs its course. And we raced together for 5 or 6 years, and I pride myself in that, because typically race teams don't survive that long. Usually egos get in the way, or somebody runs out of money, or honestly, it's usually life changes. Somebody falls in love or whatever, and splits a race team up. But we were together for a while there and had a lot of success. And so immediately after that, I wound up driving one season for Scott Bloomquist, and they had good equipment. Obviously had good equipment. Barry Wright maintained the cars, and they had an excellent crew, but we could not win a race. We led races and stuff would break, and for no reason, because they were giving me good pieces. We started out with a brand new car. Everything was brand new, and I think in the first 3 or 4 Hava-Tampa events that year, and that was the goal, was to try to win the Hava-Tampa championship. One of us, me or Scott, and the other finished second. But we led 2 or 3 of those races early, and something would break. Something freak would break. And so I got to feeling like, man, I don't know why, but apparently I don't belong here. This is not working out. And we went, that was in 1996. We finished a year out. And again, we were fast. We ran, and we had some good runs, but I couldn't win a race. And one of the reasons for the pairing there is Scott thought that he was going to be going, again, back then it was called Busch Grand National. He thought he was going to be going Busch Grand National race, and he wanted to keep the team intact so he could run World 100s and dirt track world championships and stuff like that when his schedule allowed. So that didn't work out for Scott, and it just wasn't it wasn't practical for us to keep going. So we went separate ways in October after the dirt track world championship in '96. So I went back home, much like my dad did when he ran those Grand National cars in the early '60s. When he lost his car owner and support, he went back home, and I just started racing. And I tried to continue to follow the Hava-Tampa series in '97 and beyond, but I simply didn't have the resources to do it, and wasn't happy with driving all over the place and working myself to death, and still not winning any race. Well, actually, I think we did win 1 or 2, but it wasn't. It was time for me to try to do something else. I just kind of scaled back and raced locally. We raced again with Southern All-Stars and Southern Regional Racing Series and some of the Tennessee Thunder, some of the regional series. I had success with them, but fast forward on into the 2000s, we were going to. This is a story I like to tell. We got to where we were going to the National 100 in Alabama State race at Phoenix City, Alabama. The Thomas family and the East Alabama Motor Speedway and the Gigolo Chassis and all that have had a hand in my racing throughout the years. A lot of influence, and so it's somewhere that we like to go, but it's an expensive trip. And we go here, it's probably 2004, I think. And the Alabama State race is coming up, and I have the idea that I want to go down there and run multiple classes, because we did that some around here, Green Valley Raceway in Alabama and some places when they'd have their big events, we'd go and run 2 or 3 classes. And man, it's a lot of work, but after you do it a while, it gets to where you can be successful at it. So I wanted to go try that at East Alabama. And I'm trying to figure out how we're going to afford this, because like I said, it's an expensive trip. Entry fees, they charge for 4-wheelers. I mean, you're there for 3 days. We're taking 3 cars. So out of the blue, I called up Mike Vaughn to see if he'd help me. I didn't even know Mike, but I knew he had his name on some race cars. I knew he was a race fan. So out of the blue, I called Mike up and I tell him what I want to do. And I'm asking him if he could help me, like with entry fees or any of the expenses. And so he was in, he was willing to do that. And he says, so you've got 3 cars and 3 engines? And I'm like, well, I've got 3 cars and I've got 3 engines, but one of them's in the shop, but it's supposed to be done in time. So he's telling me about this 604 crate engine that he's got, that would be legal in I can't remember what they called the class at the time at East Alabama, but they had an engine option in there for the 602, 603, and 604 crate engines, which I knew nothing about. But Mike and Don Jenkins had been racing a little bit with a 604, and they had wrecked their car. And Mike's telling me that he's got this engine if I want to run it. And I'm thinking, crate engine? That's not something I'm interested in. I'm like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. So I wind up having to call him up a few days before this event and let him know that my Sportsman engine, or whatever they called it, was not going to be ready. And thanks for paying the entry fees. I hope maybe we can get them back, because I'm not going to be able to run that class. Being the car salesman that Mike is, he convinced me to come down to Don's and take the engine out of Don's wrecked car, which, well, Don and his niece, Brandy, took the engine out. But we go down there and we get it, and I reluctantly put it in. I'm thinking, this guy's been good enough to pay these entry fees. I'll go run his engine. So we go to East Alabama, go out for hot laps, and I'm thinking, man, they're going to run me over. We go out there in a hot lap and come in, and we're top of the board. And we end up winning that race. And this race pays like $5,000 to win. And I'm riding home, and I'm thinking, if this is backing up a class, it doesn't hurt a bit. And so that led to me running more and more and more 604 races, and that was the day that Mike decided to form a racing series, and so that's how we got started racing the 604s.
Tell you what, it's unique how things kind of work out, or how they kind of play in a factor. And what a career it's been. 29 wins total in the 604s, as we mentioned, 3 straight championships, 2013, 2014, 2015. That has never been done in Crate Racing USA ever again. A couple drivers have 2, but they haven't been able to put the 3 straight together. Very impressive. We're talking with Dirt Late Model Hall of Famer Ronnie Johnson. You mentioned something. I'm going to go back just a tad, and I'm glad you brought this year up. 1996. You mentioned that Tampa season. That year, Freddie Smith won the championship. Scott was second. You finished third. You mentioned not being able to get to victory lane, but that season, 6 times in 1996, you were the runner-up. You had 15 top 5s and 22 top 10s in those 32 starts. What was it like? I guess you look back now and how things have happened and how we've lost both Freddie and Scott. You look back now, what's your thoughts on being able to go back and think about being on the road and competing against, back then, what a lot of people say is still the best time there was when late model racing?
man, I don't know if it was the best time or not. It was a good time, absolutely. But, I get a little bit tired of seeing the Facebook posts of, the good old days and those were the times and all that. These are still the times. Times have changed, certainly, but, man, I love this sport. I love being around it. I love working on my car, trying to make it better. And I don't get to race as much as I used to, but time catches up with us all. And to stay in the game, you have to conform. But, man, in 96, there's so many stories I can tell. I mean, I knew Scott. I had raced with Scott in East Tennessee, and the year before we got together, one of the things that kind of led to us, getting together there, I'd known Barry Wright for forever, and I'd had his cars. And so often we would park beside them at the Tampa races there, especially in 95. And, man, Scott had an awesome year that year, not just with Tampa, but with, other races that he ran. But so anyway, Scott and I team up there, and or I get to join his team or whatever there in 96. And I have to say that I met some of the most unique people through Scott in those 10 months that we raced together that I have in my life. But it wasn't. Of course, Scott's gone, so I can't say it. I can't speak in the present, but speaking in the past, like, it's not easy to race with Scott Bloomquist. This is a guy who I never met anybody in my life that had as much confidence as this guy had. And I know, a lot of people didn't like Scott because of his attitude and that. But if I was hiring a race car driver, I'd certainly hate to have one that didn't think he was the best or was going to go. But I mean, you're just riding down, going to the races with Scott, and he's talking about, he's not boasting. He's not predicting. He's just talking about, this is just the way he sees it. He's talking about having the fastest car in hot laps and having fast time and winning that first heat, starting on the pole and leading every lap. And one day we're going down the road, and I says, but what if you don't get the lead on the start? Man, this guy looks at me like he could cut me in two. And he says, that ain't going to happen. But, and it would happen. This guy was not invincible, obviously. But I got to believe if I'd been riding down the road with Tiger Woods and I suggested that he wasn't going to put that little white ball in the hole, he would have gave me that same look. Same thing with, a great basketball player. I believe every time the ball left their hand, all they could see was net, whether it happened or not. And that's the way Scott was. So it wasn't easy racing with him because he expected a lot. And his fans expected a lot. His sponsors expected a lot. So it wasn't easy racing, in his shadow or whatever, but, I certainly enjoyed it, learned a lot, and, I wouldn't trade that time for anything. I don't know if I'd do it again, but, I certainly wouldn't trade that time for anything. As I said, I'd known Barry for a long time. I knew all the crew guys, because we had been parking with them and racing with them. Freddie, man, I'd seen Freddie race and race with him forever, and he is absolutely a legend in the sport. No doubt about it. He deserved the Southern Gentleman nickname. He always had time for his fans. He had and still has, legions of fans that just think the world of him. His dad, he had a brother that used to race with him. Freddie's mom went with him all the time. It's just a big family deal. I raced a lot with, with Freddie and, Naomi and Jeff, being a part of it. And there's so much you can learn from people like that when you're racing with them. But the sad thing is we all have to be competitors. We're all trying to beat each other. So, I mean, with any of these guys, you race with them, and sometimes things don't go like you'd like for it to. But Freddie is absolutely on the top of the list to, as a guide to how you should conduct yourself, in the car and out of the car. One of the first, it was a really big rivalry there with Scott and Freddie. There was a big rivalry between a perceived rivalry anyway, between the Barry Wright camp, the Barry Wright Bloomquist camp, and the GRT camp. The GRT cars were, right there that was their heyday. They had, Joe Garrison had, there's no telling how many hundreds of those cars they built, and we were racing against them, and they were just kind of taking over. There's always a chassis that seems to be on top, and at that time it was pretty much the GRT deal. So there was and again, a lot of people didn't like Scott, or they didn't think they did. I promise you, if you ever had a conversation away from the racetrack with Scott Bloomquist, you instantly became a fan. He wasn't the same person at the track as he was away from the track. But, a lot of people didn't like him, and he played off of that. Man, he played off of that, with the fans and that. And so it seemed like we were forever getting into some kind of issue with the GRT drivers for whatever reason. Like I said, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy racing under that guy's umbrella. But again, I wouldn't take anything for the 10 months that we raced together there.
Most definitely. We're talking with Ronnie Johnson, talking about some history. And I was going back and I was looking, and I got to think, a lot of drivers, I can't remember the first time I ever seen some drivers compete. But what's funny is I can remember the very first time being at a racetrack, getting to watch you race. 1997, the Volunteer 100, Volunteer Speedway. You won that race ahead of, I think Freddie Smith might have finished third, Vic Hill eighth. Scott Sexton, Herman Goddard was in that race as well. Man, just being able to see you compete the way you did, and that was in the 90s. And then I skipped forward. I go back to where we kind of started with this. 2022, I think it'd been like 2018 with the last time that we saw you at a Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series race. You show up at Magnolia in 2022, and I know you told Ross in our opening interview there, they asked you, well, why are you going all the way down to Magnolia? Kind of tell us the reason behind that. You kind of tidbitted a little bit about that. You said you just had a feeling you was going down there and you could win that race.
Yeah, I don't remember what I might have said in an interview with Ross or anything, but I've got Daniel Grider's one of the guys that helps me, and I was wanting to go to that race, and he has helped me on and off, but he's not he's much younger than me, and he's not raced with me back in the earlier days when I was I think determination carried me farther than anything, and being determined like that, you're not always the easiest guy to be around. So he hadn't seen that, and but that race came up, and I just keep talking about wanting to go to it, and I don't think Daniel had ever been to a race. He helps another guy too, and I don't think he'd ever been to a race farther away than, more than a couple hours away, basically what I'd call a local or regional tracks. And so we're out here, I think it's like the night before we left, and man, I'm tweaking and I'm turning and I'm doing this and that to the car. And he asked me, what is it about this race? Why do you want to go? And it just blurted out, it just came out. I said, because I think I can win it. And, I hadn't won any $10,000 races in a long time. And so we go down there, and start with, I love the racetrack. I love that place. Johnny Stokes is, man, I can go on and on and on and on about good people in racing and characters in racing, and Johnny's one of them. But I love that racetrack, and I especially love it. I've had a lot of success there over the years, on and off. When that thing is slow, it can get slow and slick. Now, when early in the night, when it's got traction and they're hollering around there in the 13-second bracket, I have never been any good. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but when that thing slows down into the 16s, then there's been more than once that I've come from mid-pack and won, super races or crate races or whatever. So we go down there. It is November. And the first night, the racetrack had a little bit of traction in it. We qualified pretty good. I think we might have won or run second in a heat. And I think we're starting 6th or 8th. So we'll probably run second in the heat, 6th or 8th in the feature. And we come back on the second night, and it's still got a little traction in it. And so I'm still thinking, we're gonna have a good day no matter what happens. We're gonna have a good run. And we started that race, and probably, I don't even remember how many laps it was, maybe 60. Probably got less than halfway through that race, and I'm slowly passing some cars, and you can't miss that scoreboard that got there. And I look up, and I'm like, man, I'm running second. So, and I look up there, and the guy that says is leading, he's right up there, and so I got to him, and I remember we raced hard for a long time. And I finally got by, and we ended up winning it. And fairy tale story, whatever, but it worked out. But I love racing at that place, especially when it slows down. And however many laps that was, it started slowing down, and it kind of came to me, and it went our way.
A big night indeed. Back in 2022, nearly 50 of the best crate late model drivers there. And you hit it right on the money. Started 6th. Randall Beckwith was the guy that was leading there towards the end, and you ended up slipping by him and getting that win. We see a lot of drivers nowadays. Everybody wants to go super late model racing. I think that's kind of the big topic. Everybody wants to make that big jump, wants to be on the national stage. When it comes to the Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series, the 604s, for these young guys that are like in the 602s and the 604 or the 602 Chargers and the 602s, what's kind of your advice to maybe give this tour a chance? This gets them out there, gets them on the road, you travel. What's some advice you give to these younger guys about taking that step and giving this tour a chance?
Well, absolutely. You get, if you haven't done any traveling, it gives you a chance to see, what that's really about, going from track to track, tracks that you've never been to, and it really doesn't matter. You can be the hero at your local track, and you can go out and run some series and go to all these new tracks, and you can't wait to get back home because you've learned so much. You're really going to kill them, and you go back and the local guy outruns you. It's just it gives you a chance to see what life's like. If you with the 604 series or whatever, you don't have a lot of. You're not going to spend a lot of nights in a row together with 4 other guys in a truck, but you'll certainly on a Labor Day weekend or Memorial weekend or July 4th weekend, when there's 3 or 4 or 5 nights in a row or almost in a row, you'll certainly find out if you're willing to share a truck with 4 or 5 other guys, and their dirty clothes on the floor and their their phones are ringing off the hook. Girlfriend or the wife wants to know, when are you coming home? Whatever. You'll get a taste of that, and you can find out if you want to continue on and live on the road. It don't matter what series it is. Racing is a lot of work. People used to walk by my shop, and my shop is right close to a little street there, so you got a lot of dog walkers and that. I practically almost live downtown in Chattanooga, so you got a lot of people out, and we'll be out there washing the car or whatever, and they stop and, hey, what are you doing here? And they can see inside the hauler, and what's all, and so they're like, man, it looks like a lot of fun. I said, well, it can be a lot of fun when things go well, but it's a lot of work. It's a 24/7 nonstop maintenance program is what it is. And I'm telling you, you gotta want it really bad. It don't matter if you're a driver, a crewman, a sponsor. It don't matter what part you play in this racing deal. You gotta, the most thing is again, like I said earlier, determination, desire and determination. You gotta want it bad. You got to want it bad. You got to be willing to give up pretty much everything to be successful. And even that is not a guarantee that you'll be successful. But following, the 604 tour is not a bad thing at all. Don't think that the competition's any easier. It doesn't matter what class you're running, you're going to show up, and there's at least 4 or 5 guys at every race that got up that morning and they believe they thought just like I did when I went to Magnolia. They believe they're going to win that race, and then you got probably you got quite a few more that already have an excuse, but you got a handful that you got to beat. And they're not going to give it to you. They're not going to give you an inch, and they're not going to give it to you on the track, and they're not going to give it to you off the track, because if you're not working as hard as they are, then you're behind them.
Well, Ronnie, we appreciate you so much for joining us on this opening episode of Crate Racing USA Live. I can't let this go without letting you tell the folks, I'm sure they're asking, when are we going to see you at the track again? What you got going on? When are we going to see Ronnie back on the racetrack?
I actually went with a friend a couple of weeks ago, a former series racer. I've always called him Squirt, but Andy Picklesheimer. And he practically took the whole year off last year to help me chase the Southern All-Star Points Championship, and we came up a little short, ran second, but Andy's going to do some racing this year, and I went with him to a practice session and made some laps in his car. So I'm a Weather Channel junkie, and I'm kicking my tail right now because I don't have anything ready to go race somewhere this weekend. But soon, I'm definitely going to race this year, but I've got to make some decisions here about what direction I need to attempt to follow, and certainly hope that there's an occasional 604 series race in there somewhere. Man, I've never told Adam Stewart this. Never told him this, but I used to think. So we'd go to Green Valley Raceway years ago, and Adam would be there, and he's holding the drivers' meeting and doing a little bit of everything. I guess probably a lot more than I knew he was doing, but. And then I'd see him at Talladega, and I finally came to realize that this guy pretty much grew up at Talladega Short Track. And years ago, I always, there was always rumors. The owners of Talladega, Alfred passed away, and Lynn was, we're all getting older, and so there's always rumors and talk that maybe the track was going to close, maybe it was going to be sold or whatever. And again, I've never told Adam this, but this is honest truth. I always thought, man, if I could win the lottery, I'd go down there and buy that racetrack, and I'd get Adam Stewart to run it. And lo and behold, I didn't do my part, but he's doing his. So I couldn't run a racetrack, but it's kind of like policemen and soldiers. I couldn't do it, but I'm glad that there's somebody there to do it. And so he's soldiering and policing over there at the short track. So hopefully we get to come down there and race a time or two this year.
Indeed. Well, Ronnie, we appreciate you spending some time with us. We thank you for being on the show. And man, 29 wins. We 30, maybe try to find that 30th series win somewhere down the road here.
Well, if we go race, we're certainly going to be trying. Absolutely going to be trying to not just to increase that number, but man, it just feels good to win. Winning never gets old. It never gets old, but it you do this, and you certainly like to feel a sense of accomplishment on the way home after, all the time and money spent and the sacrifices made, not just by myself, but by, everyone that comes and helps and everyone's families that, do without whoever's trying to get these things up and down the road and around the track. So I certainly hope we can add another win or two to the tally.
Well, Ronnie, we appreciate you being on the show. Thanks for spending some time with us. Thanks for reminiscing just a little, and we look forward to seeing you at a racetrack soon.
Again, thanks for having me. Appreciate what you guys are doing. The times are changing, and it just doesn't appear that the society in general is as revolves around automobiles like it once did. So, man, I love it when I see anybody involved trying to keep the wheels rolling.
Indeed. Thank you, Ronnie. Well, coming up on the show, we get you ready for this weekend, the season opener for the Rogers Dabbs Performance Parts Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series season. Needmore Speedway, 10,000 to win Southern Heritage Classic. We'll talk about that coming up right after this break. This is Crate Racing USA Live.
As far as I can remember, my dad was always buying VP fuel. And then once I got to a certain level of racing where I was good enough, I was sponsored by VP, and I believe VP my whole entire career is what I ran with at Mitch's at Pro Circuit, and then also Factory Kawasaki. So very reliable fuel, it makes good power, and you can relatively get it anywhere. So that's the beauty of VP, is always supporting our sport and making sure that we all have fuel to go racing.
Need reliable equipment to power your next project? Westpro JCB has you covered. From durable mini excavators to cutting-edge teleskids, we offer solutions that deliver performance and precision. Visit westprojcb.com today and upgrade your fleet with machines you can trust. If you want to keep up with any of the racing action you missed, or if you want to go back and relive any of the previous races, CrateRacingUSA.tv is the place to go. Watch live broadcast, on-demand replays, whenever, wherever you want at CrateRacingUSA.tv. Hello, everyone. Cody Earley back with you, the host of Crate Racing USA Live. Well, this weekend, the 22nd season of competition for the Rogers Dabbs Performance Parts Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series will kick off at the Needmore Speedway, and a weekend full of racing action. Promoter Chance Smith has put together what I feel really makes the Southern Heritage Classic unique, and that is the fact that it is multiple top-tier divisions. Not only the 10,000 to win feature in the Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series will be on hand. As we've talked about, the Crate Racing USA Late Model Sportsman Tour will be there. The Modified Mafia, if you've never seen this bunch, the UMP Modifieds, 7,500 to win, 400 to start. They'll have some prelim features going on Friday. The Limited Late Models, they'll battle for 5,000 to win. The Crate Racing USA Street Stocks this year, the Southern Dirt Street Stock Series will be on hand. What an awesome way for them to kick off their inaugural season. Of course, they're sanctioned by Crate Racing USA as well. And the always excited, don't go anywhere until the factory stock feature is done. They'll be battling for $4,000. It's all this weekend. Of course, practice gets underway tonight, and then, of course, tomorrow, preliminary action when it comes to the Rogers Dabbs Performance Parts Crate Racing USA Dirt Late Model Series. The schedule for Friday, it will be My Race Pass Fantasy Racing Hot Laps. Of course, new this year, Top Notch Customs. Brian Green and his staff going to put up $100, and that will go to the fastest overall time in our My Race Pass Fantasy Racing Hot Laps. Bama Sheds and Pole Barns Pole qualifying, $100 from our friends at Bama Sheds. And then, of course, those always exciting Chevrolet Performance Heat races. That will conclude the preliminary action on Friday. All roads lead to Saturday. That's where we'll find a pair of Rogers Dabbs Chevrolet B-Mains, more than likely. And then, of course, the 50-lap, $10,000 to win main event for the Southern Heritage Classic, the season opener at Needmore Speedway coming up this weekend. Always, if you can't make it to the racetrack, watch everything live from anywhere on CrateRacingUSA.tv. You can buy the single-day packages or come join us both days in the booth. I'll be helping guide you through all the racing action that happens this weekend from Needmore Speedway. Well, I would say this is a great way to kick off a brand new show. We've had Adam Stewart on the line. We've had the Chattanooga Flash, Ronnie Johnson, and we hope you have enjoyed. Hey, we ask you to hit the like button, hit the share button, send this to a friend, get a friend involved, and hopefully next time when we're on the air, they'll be able to join us as well. Remember, keep up to date with everything, CrateRacingUSA.com. That's CrateRacingUSA.com. If you don't have your 2026 membership, you can go to the website, get that. You can get all the rules, everything you need in one place, CrateRacingUSA.com. On behalf of Crate Racing USA, my name is Cody Earley. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for joining us. Hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, and we hope to see you at the track soon. This is Crate Racing USA Live.
This copyrighted broadcast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of Crate Racing USA. Crate Racing USA would like to thank our fans for their support, and we hope you enjoyed this broadcast.